Flower. Bees, moths, butterflies and hummingbirds are attracted by the colours and smells of petals. Okay. Right. Petals down there. Okay, the nectar is at the bottom, so nectar. Oh, okay. The nectar line really ought to be like a bit longer. Okay. Receptacle. Okay. With the nectar involved. Ready. Style. That's the lady part of the flower. Stigma is the top of the lady part of the flower where the pollen gets stuck. These are two different versions of flowers, but they've all got the same stuff. Pollen. That's the male gamete that comes off on bees and hummingbirds. The anther. Anther is the piece that makes the pollen. Filament. Filament is the male part that holds anthers. And the pistil, and also called carpel, is all the female parts. The stamen is all the male parts. The pollen, the anther, the filament. Wow, okay, sorted. The male parts of a flower are called the stamen. Stamen is how to say stamen. Stamen equals filament plus anther plus pollen. Male parts make and spread pollen. Yes, pollen's what flowers have instead of sperm in animals. The female parts of a flower are called the pistil or carpel. Pistil equals stigma plus style plus ovary. Female parts feed the fertilized ovum. Draw 8 pollen on the left anthers. Of the second flower. Oh. Okay. Anthers. How many am I drawing? 8. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 core. The petals attract bees and other pollinators. Yes, because petals are colourful, and that's what attracts the bees. But actually the colour we see, the reds, the blues, the oranges, the yellows, that's not very interesting to the bees, because bees see mostly in ultraviolet. So all of the petals look bright in ultraviolet light, and that's what attracts the bees. Bees, not moths. Moths are attracted by the smell because it's dark when moths are around, so therefore they come towards the smell. That's why flowers smell nice. Bees, moths, butterflies, and hummingbirds. Yeah, hummingbirds particularly come to this kind of flower because they've got the right beaks to go all the way down and get the nectar from out of the receptacle. Bees, moths, butterflies and hummingbirds help plants by carrying the pollen from one flower to another. Bees, moths, flies. And hummingbirds are pollinators. Pollinators. Pollinators drink the nectar and eat pollen. Not all of it though, otherwise there'd be no flowers in the future. The nectar is made in the nectaries and stored in the receptacles. Some of the male sex cells called pollen stick to the pollinating animal. Then the pollinator flies to another flower. Oh, actually some beetles and even some mammals do pollination as well, but it's quite rare. Mostly it's bees and butterflies and moths. Other flower, some pollen stick onto the stigma. No, it doesn't. That's a stet. Keep it the same. The DNA from the male pollen sex cell goes down the style to the ovary to make baby seeds. Yeah, pollen's very, very small, and it's absolutely amazing that the pollen sticks on the top of the stigma and then grows a little tubule all the way down into the ovary. So even though it's tiny, pollen gives you hay fever. That's one of the bad things about pollen. Particularly pollen that flies on the air pollinated plants like grass. They don't use bees and butterflies. They just spread pollen everywhere, tiny little pollens, and that's what makes people sneeze. It's called hay fever because, well, it comes from hay. There are many, because hay is a type of grass, there are many anthers to make millions of pollen grain gametes to make sure that at least one lucky pollen will fertilize the sticky stigma so that the baby seeds can grow. Cut off the stamen and the pistil to make your flowers last longer. Oh yeah, if you're going to have flowers, cut flowers last longer if the sex organs of the flower are taken off. The male stamen is the thin filament, and the anther that makes the pollen gamete. The female pistil is the thin style, and the stigma that collects the pollen, and the ovaries where the pollen fertilizes the ovum. Nectar is stored in the receptacle to feed the bee and hummingbird pollinators. Use the first flower's labels to help you join the words to arrows on the second. Help you draw arrows. on flower B. Draw anthers and pollen on the fourth flower of B. Ah, I've already done that. So that doesn't need... Cool! Whew, editing. Did you see the one spelling mistake I made on purpose? Write down in comments if you saw my spelling mistake, who's going to be first. Press my circular picture to get more of my videos. Press like, press subscribe. Bye!